All right. Thanks for coming out, everybody. Welcome. Vintage Vikings here on this Thursday. Beautiful night. We've got quite the show for you guys tonight. We're going to be diving into the history of Fran Tarkenton, what some people might consider the best QB to ever put on a Vikings jersey in some aspects. We'll get into the history of Fran, stats, some common takes about today's NFL, if he could thrive or not. But yeah, we're going to start there. So I'm going to give it away to our two historians, Tony, and then we're going to rock and roll. So, Tony, how would you like to start, buddy?
So here's what I'm going to do. I'm the defensive guy. I was always the Purple People Eaters guy. Bill is literally the Fran guy. So this is Fran is Bill's guy he was a quarterback. I don't care. But I'm gonna let Bill talk about his guy tonight. I'll chime in. But let me start this off by saying, say what you want about Fran. He didn't win a Super Bowl, whatever, blah, 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 blah. But bottom line is, and I always say I give Chuck Foreman a lot of credit too, but from our best years, Stu Voice said it himself, our best years were with Fran Tarkenton at quarterback.
Yep.
So as much as I don't give him credit, I did give him credit, but we don't have Fran on those teams. I don't think we are as good as we were.
Nope.
That's even with Chuck. So I give Fran a lot of credit. Fran was smart. There's one thing you have to give Fran credit for. He was probably one of the most intelligent guys to ever play quarterback. And yeah, we didn't get it done in the Super Bowl, but he did get us there. And it was a much older team, and it was different things going against us. But Fran and that team, along with the head coach, and let's give Jerry Burns credit, found a way to win, and found a way to win a lot. So that being said, take it away, Bill.
You heard it here, everybody. You heard it here.
That's Fran Tarkenton, Francis Asbury Tarkenton.
A defensive guy,
born in February of 1940. Greatest Viking quarterback ever. And it all started on September 17th. Well, beside the fact he was drafted by the Vikes, Georgia, third round, but September 17th, 1961. First game ever at the Met. First regular season game ever. Mr. Shaw started, and then Vikes are leading 3-0, replaced by Fran Tarkenton. And then what does Fran do? Leads them to a 37-13 victory. I believe he was 17 out of 23 for 250 yards. I think he had 4 touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown. And that's where Fran then became Fran. And those years with Van Brocklin, obviously, we've discussed this before. Very tough because those two didn't get along. He goes to New York, plays for the Giants. What a lot of people don't know, he's amongst the 50 greatest Giants. And, he went to New York, and they thought he was the missing link. And talent-wise, they didn't have it. But there's one player on those Giants years that came then back to the Vikings who Fran said, go get him. And that was Mr. Tucker. Tight
end Bob Tucker.
Yep. And I'll say this all the time. We've discussed it. Joe Cap, biggest mistake per Joe was leaving for money. So those 2 years after Cap left, when I think Page was at his height and the whole defense was at its height, they wasted him with mediocre play by Bob Lee, who I think is one of the worst ever. I don't care how long he was in the league. I couldn't stand his throwing motion, couldn't stand him, period. Bob Berry, please. Gary Quazzo should have just been a dentist. But then what does Bud do? Bud says, we need a quarterback, and this is per Bud. I'll paraphrase. We got to go get one, and we're going to get the best one, I think, in the NFL, and that's Francis Asbury Tarkenton, who came here.
Let me interject, Bill, because here's the funny part about that. A lot of people don't know this. You knew the relationship between Van Brocklin and Fran was over after the 66 season. Van Bronckhorst resigned and was still but Fran was still a Viking.
Yep.
When Bud was hired, he wanted to keep Fran. He wanted Fran to stay with the Vikings, but Fran had it in his mind that, and this is kind of let's just admit, Fran was a cocky dude.
He was 100%.
He was a cocky dude. He 100%. Knew that he in his mind, and you always bet on yourself. In his mind, he knew he was going to go to New York and turn that team around. And for him, it was all about putting eyes on the Giants, but also taking eyes off of Joe Namath with the Jets.
Yep. The rival.
And so that's why he went to New York. But he made New York competitive. He did. He made New York competitive.
Yeah, I mean, he is cocky. I mean, listen, I love Fran. There's obviously others that love him as much as I do, but listen, I'll admit that the guy was, he threw for 47,000 yards, 47,003, 342 touchdowns, 1975 MVP, 1975 Offensive Player of the Year. His stats don't lie, and he played in an era when, NFC wise, it was really more of a running league. But that guy with his scrambling, you ask Deacon Jones, even Alan Page and Carl Eller and Jim Marshall in 69, they were dog tired in the opener in 69 from chasing him. That's one of the reasons they lost that game. They had nothing left in the fourth quarter, chasing that guy all over the place. But all these guys didn't want to chase him. And Randy White, none of them. Watching, that's why Tony and I'll not listen. We got to see it. And Tony's actually, got to see him play at the old Met. I never got that opportunity, but seeing him
I saw Fran take that hit from Dave Purefoy against the Lions in '78, where he knocked.
I remember that.
He knocked his teeth out.
Yes, he did.
Knocked his teeth out.
So, Bill.
Hey, by the way, that's Dave Purefoy's the same guy that lost to Ed White in the '75 arm wrestling.
Yeah, he was a former Packer and former Lion.
Yes, he was.
What was Bill? What was?
But no, Fran. I remember the opener. Now, TBs were the same age. He's 3 weeks older, so you're always going to be older, TB.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
TB goes back a little bit longer than I do. I do remember the '72 opener, the return of Fran game when they played the Redskins on Monday night. And I don't remember nothing until '74. But truly, and TB said it best. And when I sat with Chuck in 2023, when at a local sports bar establishment, watching the Atlanta Josh Dobbs game in Atlanta, he told me this quote. He said, listen, if it wasn't for Fran, I don't have that career. We were made for each other. We feasted off each other. And, like he said, Bill, great players, Hall of Famers still need great players, good to great players around him. And he said, Fran was the perfect guy for me. That short passing, and then Burnsy, obviously. But, not everybody could do that offense like Fran. Fran did it perfect. Those short passes. What was it when Chuck came? My God. Because he was a wide receiver in college. And, listen, they have not replaced him. That's the bottom line. This organization has not replaced him. Tommy Kramer should have been the guy. Injuries and other issues. Dante could have been the guy. Injuries. They haven't been able to replace him.
That's it.
They have not been able to replace him. It's the one thing missing is obviously that Super Bowl ring. And by the way, if you listen to Fran, he's a lot like not all Viking. It's funny because not all, like Paul Krause doesn't let it eat at him. Fran Tarkenton is 86 years old. It still eats at him that he did not win that ring. It eats at him. I think it eats at him more than ever ate at Bud Grant. I can tell you that. Right? You agree with that, TB? That's
yeah. There's
also, eats that guys. There's certain guys on that team it just eats, and Fran is one of them.
There's also another thing too. When Fran came back, because '72, We were just 500. We were 7-7.
Yes, 7-7.
So what happened was after the season, Paul Krause had a heart-to-heart with Fran, and he told him, look, you don't have to do it all with this team, because I think Fran still felt like he had to carry the team.
Because of what his prior experience.
Because of his prior experience. And Paul was like, look, you don't have to carry this team. You got us, meaning the defense. But the best thing the Vikings did was the smartest thing they did, and let's give Jim Finks credit for this one.
The architect.
Was drafting a running back named Chuck Foreman.
Yep. 100.
Bill, let me ask you this. What was the...
He's, to me, all around wise, the greatest running back the Vikings have ever had. Remember what I said, all around. That guy could do everything. And they were just made for each other. And the whole, look at that offensive talent, 73, they had Gilliam, great offensive line. They had Chuck, they had Stu, still had Osborne a little bit. They still had Boom Boom. They had Eddie Marinero, Jimmy Lash. They still had guys, but I think, don't you think, like in 75, that was Fran's MVP year. He was lights out. But also people forget Chuck. Truly, Chuck could have won MVP too that year. He had a great year. Chuck Foreman was
he doesn't get that snowball in the eye.
Yeah.
He gets the rushing title and he gets the NFC scoring title.
And you talked to Fran about that season.
Hey,
I don't think Fran was the greatest leader, and I'm his biggest fan. He wasn't. I think I still, to my dying day, will say him and Alan Page are the same person. Hall of Fame players, great players, but not great leaders. Both of them. Though Fran said I screwed up in the Hail Mary game versus Dallas. I think it was in the third and 1 or 3rd and 2 when they had the incompletion. And he said, I should have made that play. If he makes the play, the game's over. He was hard on himself, man. It eats at him. But he's also cocky, like TB said. It's all about Fran.
He was a cocky, arrogant.
He's arrogant. He's arrogant as hell.
When he comes back in training camp 72, he gets in a fight with Alan Page on the field. Yeah. It's a fist fight.
Two greatest Vikings ever, in my opinion.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, what were you going to say? What were you saying?
Bill, what's his stature like? So height and weight-wise when he was in the league? Yeah.
No, what was Fran? How tall was he?
Well, he's listed at what, 6? But he wasn't 6. Was he 5'10" to 6?
Something like that.
Yeah, he was small. Fran. Again, you've got Deacon Jones. Hated playing against him. Hated it because that guy could move around. If people just Google Fran Tarkenton versus Dallas, September 1977. Remember that where he running around and Randy White's trying to catch him, and he threw it to Robert Miller for the first down. In the opener in 77, that's right there, Fran. Or if you look in, I think it was the 1964 season when he threw that scrambling all around. You could correct me if I'm wrong, TB. That where he threw it up for grabs in the end zone touchdown, but because of his scrambling, he extended that play. And that's why, I'll just say it now, he could play in today's NFL just because of that. He's as smart as hell. Though I'll just say this, and TB knows this, Ron Yeri, the Hall of Fame tackle, and I don't agree with Ron. I don't know what the heck happened to Ron with this, but he did not want Fran. Now, Fran hurt his shoulder against Dallas that year, right? In 74. And then it hurt his arm, so he couldn't throw the ball as long. And Ron wanted Bob Berry to start that Super Bowl 9 versus Pittsburgh, which would have been it would have been a worse disaster than what it was. I will say this in the end. I think Fran gets a bad rap with the 3 Super Bowl losses. The quarterbacks, it's always going to go to the head coach and the quarterback first and second. But that whole team played bad in all of them. Well, and all the ones with Fran, all the ones that Fran did, they couldn't run the ball. They hardly could pass the ball. They couldn't stop the run. And then coaching was horrible.
Here's where I get on Fran. You're the leader of the offense.
I know what you're going to say, and you know what? I never thought of that before. I think I know what you're going to say, and I think I'll let you go ahead, and I'll.
And this is the thing. You're the leader of the offense. You're the voice of that offense. You have to run that offense.
Yep.
You're going into Pittsburgh. You're playing Pittsburgh and Oakland.
Yep.
Jerry Burns and Bud Grant changed the offense.
Yep. I knew you were going there. Yes.
At the last minute, and you as a quarterback are fine with it. Basically, you know what they did? They took Chuck Foreman out of the offense.
Yeah,
why?
I don't get it.
I don't get where in their right mind. What the hell was Burns and Grant thinking to change the offense, knowing that you're taking a week off, and then the next week you're getting ready for the game with a whole new friggin' offense?
Well, I mean, I agree with everything you said. I agree.
That to me. I mean, as much as we blame the players, I'm putting it on the coaches too, because guess what?
Yeah.
You weren't ready.
Nope.
And you literally put your offense behind the 8 ball when you changed the offense. What the hell? Was Jerry Burns drunk most likely? He was probably drunk. That's probably what it was. And
TV.
He's on a binge or changed
the Raider, after they blocked Ray Guy's punt, first and goal, they gave it to Chuck, didn't they? And they gained 1 yard, or maybe not even a yard. And then the second and goal, they gave it to Flanagan.
Yep. That would have been perfect for a bootleg to Stu Voigt. You could have rolled Fran out.
You had so many plays. And plus, if you're going to run, don't you run behind White and Erie?
Well, if you've got common sense, yes. You run behind White, Erie, and Voigt. Not Craig, Riley, and Goodrum. That's where.
Come on now. Steve Craig was up there. He was a great tight end.
For who? On what? Stratomatic?
Hey, he was number 84.
So, Bill, let's talk about these.
No, but I think Bud just wanted. I think they just outcoached themselves. They got too cute. They thought, well, you know what? They'll never see this coming.
Yeah,
hey,
Chuck did say that.
Bill,
can you hear Dan?
Can you hear me? No.
Oh, interesting. He can't hear me.
He can't hear you.
Nope.
Okay. Let's do this.
I can hear T. Now I can.
All right, yep. Yeah, I got it. Okay. Sorry about that, everybody. Bill, let's talk real quick about these 4 Super Bowl appearances from the Vikings and Fran, and let's talk about how you guys think he performed in these Super Bowls.
Fran was only in 3 of them. Joe Cap was in the first one.
3 of the 3 Super Bowls he's in. What was
last
it?
3?
9, 10, and 11, or is it which ones were?
He was in 8, 9, and 11.
Yep.
8, 9, and 11.
Miami, Pittsburgh, and Oakland. Miami, we were out of it before the game even started.
Yep. Carl Eller knew after the second touchdown that Miami scored, it was over.
Yeah. The Steeler game was the closest we were in.
Yep.
But
2-0 at halftime.
Yeah, it was 2-0. Here's the thing, though. Once again, if you have your offense that you had in there during the regular season, you probably have at least a touchdown.
Okay. TB, can I ask you a question? And remember, I'm the biggest Fran guy, but I have thought about this for on. You tell me if I'm wrong. On that safety, why did Fran take the safety? Meaning, didn't he have time to pick that ball up, scramble around, and at least throw it out of bounds?
Yeah, he did.
I've never understood why he took the safety. Was that maybe just a reaction, I suppose? He didn't want it to become a fumble touchdown.
It was a reaction, but it was always the thing about it was you take the safety, it's only 2 points. You live to fight another day. That Super Bowl was close. Pittsburgh didn't set the world on fire. They ran up and down the field, but once again, they only got 16 points, and they had some help with the referees because the Vikings got a couple of fumble recoveries that should have been our ball, and they did not give them.
Well, the one late too that led to their game-sealing touchdown too.
So I mean, it's but once again, if the Vikings even have the regular offense that they went into the season with that got them to the Super Bowl, it would have been probably you might even beat Pittsburgh.
Did you hear what Fran said? He said, we knew the heart of that Steeler defense was up the gut. We don't care. We're going to run up the gut. I never understood that logic because the Vikings, I mean, they're undersized at center. Obviously, you got Mean Joe Green, Ernie Holmes, you got Lambert, and you got all that, and you're going to run up the gut. And they had, 17 yards rushing as a team?
Here's what this is what ticked off Chuck Foreman. He brings it up all the time.
Ridiculous.
When they changed those game plans, all he heard out of Jerry Burns was, we can't do this play. This play is not going to work. This play is not going to work. This play is not going to work. Chuck was like, okay, well, what play is going to work? You're not telling us the ones that are going to work. You're telling us the ones that aren't going to work. And first of all, if you're running up the strength, this is where I think Burnsy was drunk off his ass.
Burgess Meredith, you mean?
Yeah, if you're the Penguin. If you're
another good one.
If you're gonna run up the heart of that defense with Green and Holmes beating up on Tinkeloff just like the Chiefs did in Super Bowl IV, you've got Chuck Foreman, you've got Dave Osborne. Hit the edges.
Yep.
Hit the edges. Play action. Hell, have Fran bootleg. I mean, there were ways to slow down that Pittsburgh. We made that Pittsburgh defense look unbelievably unstoppable. You know,
so here's the stats of this Miami Super Bowl for if you guys want to go into it. So it looks like is this accurate? 24-7.
Yep.
Super Bowl,
and it could have been worse.
Score.
Yeah, that could have been worse too.
Miami scored. Greasy hardly threw the ball.
So it looks like Miami scored 14 unanswered points in the first quarter.
Yep.
On their
first two drives.
Yep. Game MVP, Larry Csonka.
Larry Csonka.
Yep.
Fran Tarkenton scored Minnesota's sole touchdown on a 4-yard scramble in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and that was in the fourth quarter late.
Look at these stats.
Let me say, they also recovered an onside kick, but they had a penalty, or they recovered a fumble, an onside kick in the third quarter, I thought, early in the third, and a penalty took it away. So it seemed like anytime they weren't going to win that game anyways, but when they had that little momentum, something always. Well, the big one was when Oscar Reed fumbled towards the end of the first half. That was huge. I mean, that was the nail in the coffin there.
Bill, take a look at these stats and tell me what you think it reminds you of today's Vikings.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, it looks vaguely familiar.
Yep.
They're matching them. They're matching them in total yards. Look at that. Total yards. They're down in possession, and they 2 turnovers.
But you know what? That time of possession early killed us.
Yeah.
The Pittsburgh game was a lot closer. Pittsburgh ran a lot up and down the field, but it was still like 2-0 for the longest time.
Yes, it was.
You know,
then Franco scored on the end, and then made it 9, and then you're right.
Matt Blair.
So was there an interception in the end zone that derailed the first score?
No, it was for what the Miami game?
Which one game?
The Dolphins Super Bowl. It says there's an interception in the end zone derailed Minnesota's best early scoring chance we had in that
game. It was
there was an interception, yes.
Was that Jake Scott?
Yes.
Jake Scott got an interception.
Truly, they had a great chance to score. They went for it on 4th and 1. Inside the Miami 20 for sure, and they didn't get it. They fumbled, and that told everybody really what was all. I mean, the Vikings were a great team that year. They just came off, and this is typical Vikings. That Dallas NFC, and TV remembers that game. I just don't. But that NFC Championship game against Dallas was probably, Ed White has told me this, the best game in the Bud Grant era. The Vikings. That when he was with the Vikings ever played. All around. They just dominated the Cowboys.
They weren't supposed to win.
And they weren't supposed to win, and then they lay the egg against Miami. Though Miami, in their defense, I don't think that Miami team was that good. They were good. They were great.
Here's the funny part. To a man, the guys that played with Miami in 73 and were on that Super Bowl against the Vikings.
Yeah.
Man, they all say that 72 team was better than the 73 team.
For the Vikings, yes.
For the Vikings. Because that
Yes.
72 team almost beat Miami.
Should have beat Miami.
Should have beat Miami.
Yeah.
But the only change from 72, well, one of the things that I bring this up too, they always talk about Kuchenberg on Page. The biggest one was Langer taking out Jeff Seaman.
Yeah.
And he couldn't do that against Lonnie Warwick the year before. Lonnie Warwick was basically like a defensive lineman. But he could move Jeff Seaman. And once he took care of Allen and he took care of Jeff, he hit that gap. That was probably the difference. I think the biggest difference was, and here's another thing too, we didn't have Foreman in 72, but we did in 73. He did fumble in that Super Bowl though too.
So the recap of this Super Bowl looks like Miami had back-to-back Super Bowls, a dynasty basically at that time.
They were.
Yeah, they were.
Listen, they could have won it in 74. Miami, the Sea of Hands game against the Raiders, and Clarence Davis caught that miracle towards the end, late in that game against the Raiders in Oakland. If they win, I think if Miami wins that game in 74, they could have beat the Steelers. The Dolphins were great, people. The no-name defense, and Manny Fernandez, to me, was very underrated, leading the way.
So back to Fran's performance though. 18 of 28, 182 yards, 1 rushing touchdown. Huh? Give him a grade: A, B, C, D, or F.
Well, I wouldn't give him an F. I'd give the team an F. I'd say what?
Hell, he didn't have the ball. They weren't on offense.
Yeah, I'd give him a C. I'd give him a C.
I give him a C. I give him a C minus.
Give him a C. C minus.
I give him a C and C minus. Between there, that's all fair.
Yeah. You can't really blame them because first of all, they weren't on the field.
Yep.
They didn't get on the field till later, so naturally you're already down 14-0 early in the first quarter.
Yes.
You're going to throw.
Against that team that went undefeated the previous year, were defending Super Bowl champs, were just as good, if not better. That Miami team, they also say this, those Dolphin guys, they said the 73 team, their own team was better than the 72 team.
They had a lot of luck in 72.
Yeah, they did.
Including against us. They had a lot of luck in 72.
But Larry Zaga, Jim Kick, and Mercury Morris, the trifecta. Very good. That's unreal.
You kind of wonder too if we had Chuck Foreman in 72, we're not 7-7.
No. But we lost a lot of close games. Fred Cox missed some important kicks. A lot of close games we lost. I mean, Christ's sake, they lost the Fran return game against the Redskins.
Yeah. Here was another knock on Fran too. Fran in that era was actually, many people considered him like the Kirk Cousins of that era.
Yeah,
Fran had never been to the play. Fran didn't get to the playoffs until 73. And Fran, in all his years of playing, was only above 500 twice. Yep. He only had 2 winning seasons, 8-5-1 with the Vikings in 64 and 9-5 with the Giants in 70. Other than that, he was 500 or lower. So he was, for somebody, the talk around the NFL was, for somebody to be so cocky and arrogant, you sure do suck. That was
I will say, you're right. You're right. Listen, you're right. He didn't make the playoffs until 73 against the Redskins. I'm just going to say this. He had 47,000 yards passing in an era where throwing the ball was not that important. Let's just all be real here. And that's why I think until Marino came, he had that record until Marino came. And then Marino shattered. 78, the Mel Blount rule came into effect. Fran got 1 year of the Mel Blount rule. Just again, in that era itself, what he did, that's why he was so widely respected, because people knew throwing for all those yards in a running league for the most part, he was one of the few that was putting those types of yards up. I mean, he just, as him and then with the team, could not win it. I mean, he, like TB said, 9-5 with the Giants, but he couldn't lead them to the playoffs.
Well, then here's the worst. This is what really. The only reason Fran ended up back with the Vikings in 72 is because he had a falling out with the Giants in 71. He actually retired. He quit.
Yep.
He walked out of training camp with the Giants in 71. The problem was the two quarterbacks that the Giants had, one got hurt. The other one says screw it and retired. The Giants needed a quarterback, and of course, Fran was still under contract to him, so he went back. But he definitely wanted out of New York, and I think the only team that had any interest in him at all was Minnesota. It was Bud Grant. That was the only team. And another reason was, believe it or not, Fran left here in 66.
Yep.
When Fran came back in 72, there were still like 15 players on the team that were on that 66 team. So there were players that understood how Fran was.
Yep.
The ones that didn't understand Fran were, of course, Page, Yeary. I don't know what the problem was with Charlie West. I have yet to get into that story, but Charlie West, the guys that had been winning without Fran were kind of like, what the hell do we want with him? You
don't have a quarterback.
No, and that was the biggest joke in the Viking team in 71 was who's playing quarterback. That was in the locker room. The defense was like, we're just going to have to win this game because they don't know what they're doing on offense. Literally, that's what the attitude was.
Yep.
So when you get Fran, but then you're right back to 500 ball with Fran. So that's why when I said when they get Chuck Foreman, they turn that corner, which they did, but also things just worked into place because Fran did not have to put the team on his shoulders. And that also could have been Bud Grant also and Jerry Burns with their play calling style. They could have changed it instead of putting all the focus on Fran because they used the hell out of Chuck Foreman.
Yes, they did.
To the point where he was, his, that shelf life of 7 years with a running back, he had it. He's the living example of that shelf life.
Oh, yeah. Grady Alderman said we killed him.
We used him way too much.
Yep.
But a lot of those passing yards were Fran to Chuck.
Yep.
So and that's where I give Fran credit, but I'm also the type that I'm not going to give so much credit that I'm going to ignore everything else. When Fran was on, he was on. When Fran was on, he was the best quarterback in the league.
Would you think or consider this to be accurate? Fran's rough day versus the Steelers in the Super Bowl?
And that, you know what? And now that I know what I know, I'm not even blaming Fran for that.
He had a sore arm. Going in that game.
It's hard. It's hard to blame Fran. It's hard to blame that offense for the Pittsburgh and the Oakland loss because of what the Viking coaches put them in, the position they put them in, to change the offense that got you there to all of a sudden you're playing a completely different style of offense that you only had a week to work on. Not even a week. You probably had 3 days.
Yep.
When you think about it, because this is Super Bowl. So you got media day and all that other stuff. You probably had 3 days to put it in there. So, but you were still in the Pittsburgh game. You were still in that Pittsburgh game right up till the end. You really were. So, it's
give him a grade for that Super Bowl against the Steelers.
D.
Bill,
if I didn't know if I didn't know about the changing of the play of the game,
I'm gonna say C again.
I would have gave him I give him a D because, and once again, hindsight's 20/20, but there were things that team could have did in those Super Bowls. They could have shook it up a little bit. And they didn't. They didn't adjust at all. They just kind of went with it. It's like they were losing. They're like, fuck it, we're going to lose again, which is not a good attitude. But
listen, Zonka ran for 145. Franco, I believe, 158. And Clarence Davis, 137.
Yeah.
Now, and then Fran in the offense stunk. But what listen, there's fans out there that blame him 100% for all three of those losses. It's obviously going to go to, like I said, the coach and the quarterback. The Vikings have never led in the Super Bowl, and the only reason, and I don't even count that touchdown because it was late in the fourth quarter and Super Bowl 11, Bob lead is Stu Voigt. Technically, they scored 14 in the most. That's the most they've scored, but to me, realistically, it was 7 because that was just we'll let you have another one to pad the stats touchdown. So
funny thing is, here's the scary thing. They could have got shut out in Super Bowl 9.
100%.
Matt Blair doesn't block that punt, and Terry Brown pick it up in the end zone. We don't score.
Nope. We were down there. Chuck fumbled one time, but then then the next, then when the Steelers, that's when that drive the Steelers got, then there was the block. But remember towards the end of the half, wasn't it Gilliam? He threw the ball, and then Gilliam got laid out, and then ball pops up in the air, and
and it gets intercepted. That was the last.
That was I think at the 5 of Pittsburgh.
That was at the 5. And once again, bad bounce.
Yep.
It's right in his hands, and then it's knocked out. I think Mike Wagner locked it loose.
I will say this, and we should talk about the Super Bowl losses, and we will talk about the Raiders, but I don't think you can talk about Fran Tarkenton's total career without talking about 1975, because that's when he was MVP and Offensive Player of the Year, and he rolled. That whole team rolled. It wasn't just him. That Chuck rolled, Fran rolled, the coaching staff rolled. The defense was unbelievable. And there was only one time that defense, besides he wanted, the Hail Mary is another story, but with the Redskin game, that 31-30 loss was the first loss of the season. But otherwise, that defense was right on top. And to show that game, Fran led them down the field. They're down 31-30. He leads them down the field. And Fred Cox, what was it, about a 44-yard field goal, and it was blocked? But he let them down.
I never understood that. First of all, Cox does not have a strong leg.
No, he doesn't. He did not have a strong leg.
He did not have a strong leg to be kicking a 44-yard field goal. You were not gonna get that.
Did we actually throw the ball 44 times in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, we did.
Against the Raiders?
Yeah.
Actually,
because they finally got a little bit going with Chuck. Got them going just a tad, and with the passing, and Robert Miller even got going, and Sammy got going. They got going. They had that little bit because Stabler got sacked by Page, and the momentum changed. Got it to 19-7, and then
Fran threw that pass out in the flat to Willie
Robert
Brown and went for a touchdown. And then at the end of the game, Bob Lee was the one putting up stats too. Bob Lee finished the game.
Super Bowl 8.
But yeah, they never. And once again, if I'm the Viking coaching staff, why am I changing the offensive game plan with only a week of preparation, literally? And then all I'm hearing out of you this is what Chuck said. Only thing Jerry Burns said in the meetings was, this play's not going to work. This play's not going to work. This play's not going to work.
How does he know that?
He was giving reasons why the play wasn't going to work. And I'm like, okay. Chuck was like, well, do you have any plays that will work? They never heard. He said he never heard that. He never heard that. They were so worried about what wasn't going to work that they couldn't put together something that would work. And I'm like, okay, if you don't know what's going to work, just run your offense. It's like, what is that old thing? Dance with the one you brought. How you got to the Super Bowl, let them adjust to you. You're adjusting to them before you even walk on the field, which to me was bad coaching. And it's like you said, it could be overcoaching. But then where I say this is where Fran comes in, and Fran was smart, why didn't Fran raise a stink?
I wonder, do you think possibly he had power, but he didn't have that type of power?
I think he had personnel power. If you ask people, because if you ask a lot of Viking, Ron,
it makes no sense. I agree with you. It makes no sense. Why wouldn't he have said, Jerry? Come on. What are we doing here? We gotta. Listen.
I don't know. I know Fran had his friends in the locker room, and he had his distractions.
Of course, 100%.
he did get some players. There was talk that he was getting players traded and shit. Charlie West was one of them.
I have a problem with like Ron Yeri. Ron, with the Bob Berry. Well, we're happy for you, Ron. But
Okay,
look at yourself in the mirror.
You want to know why Ron?
Holding number 73 left and right.
You want to know why Ron was so upset with Fran? Here's the problem. When they got Fran back in 72, and if
That's
anybody...
Hawkins, Mason, and then
Mason, yeah. When Fran came back in 72, Yeri was already an all-pro. Okay, here's the deal. Everybody knows Fran kind of never took a straight drop back. He kind of always rolled to his right.
Yes.
Okay. Yeri used to take this kind of deep drop to engage in blocking. So the end would be charging. Well, the funny thing was he would drop back there. He's blocking his guy. And then who's right behind Yeri? It's Fran. And what usually would happen was it was a sack. So when they get back to the sideline, who's getting yelled at? Yeri. So Yeri's like, you know what? I said, screw it. I just started engaging on the line, which he did. He used to take a couple of steps back, then he took one. But it was all because it basically, if it got to the point where they got on the O-line so much because of Fran, and the one they got on is Yeri. And Yeri's like, screw this SOB. I can kind of understand that. But, I mean, but then he softened his stance, too. He said, yeah, our best years were with Fran.
I met Fran. I had the privilege of meeting him in 2014 twice, back to back. Costco and Eden Prairie for his book signing. But the better one was, and you were at that tailgate, TB. Yeah, that one. When they played the Chargers at the bank, the Gopher Stadium, you and I and Heidi Hartle. Remember, that's where we took our picture. We were in the tailgate, and Blake was 6. I went to the game by myself, and and then Fran was again with his book, but I already got the book, Fran. I didn't need another book, and I got the picture taken with him. I take this. Listen, I met my idol Paula. My wife always said when I seen him at Costco, she said, you didn't know it, but you look like a 10-year-old in a candy store meeting an idol. And I always think of TB with this, because am I wrong to say that Alan Page would be your idol, correct?
Yeah.
And if you met him, the little kid comes out in you. It just does, people. It does. Even when I met Ed White, Carl Eller, TB knows it. Just a little kid comes out. Those are all our heroes from back in the day. And my favorite or not, everyone I've met, I can't believe for the life of me I've met those people. Never would have thought it.
The one
and TB, I think, has met more, and the little kid just comes out in you,
For us to sit there, because everybody knows I was in semi-pro football, and we would get Viking alumni to come to our games.
Yep.
For me to sit up there and then to hang out with Bob Lertzema. And
he was awesome. He's awesome.
And to get all
Benchwarmer Bob.
Benchwarmer Bob.
And stuff. And then I'm telling him about stuff, and he's telling me I need to get a life.
Remember what he told you and I about Bambi, who I nicknamed Bambi Bridgewater, and Derek Carr? He told TB, quote unquote, there was one person that wanted Carr and pounded the table for him, and that was Norv Turner.
Yep.
All the rest wanted Bambi. Because I asked him about it. I said, why wouldn't they? He said, Bill, Norv would have. That was Norv's guy. He was a Norv type of quarterback. But they all wanted the other guy because of the character, better character, and the leadership. Yeah, 1972. Those are, I'm beginning to like those. That's Jack Youngblood. I'm beginning to like those old Ram unis. I still like the other ones better, but I don't mind those. Those are still solid.
You know what? When they did what they did to the horn, I lost it. I was just like, just leave the horn the way it was. You didn't have to break it the way you did and all.
Now look at those Viking classic road uniforms. Though and by the way, TB, you know this because when we first met, I was never a fan of the road Vikings. I have come to say I was a total idiot because those are one bad. I have the Fran Road jersey too. Those are some badass. That should be their primary road, and the 70s, or you can even say 69. I don't care. Should be the primary home. The purple.
Yeah,
it's simple. I like it a lot. It's simple.
Well, some people call them the LSU jerseys because LSU is kind of similar.
Mm-hmm.
We had them before LSU.
Yes, we did. But they're like the college-wise. I had a guy who I used to work with say that he called them the LSU jerseys. Those were his favorite too. But that game, that was that 45-41 game in 72. The Vikings won that.
I remember watching that game because the game came on later, but I had a
That's that white too.
I had a wake to go to for my uncle. I was 6 years old.
Oh.
And I went to a wake that Sunday, and then we came home and watched the game. And that's why I remember that game so well. But then once again, it was supposed to be a defensive battle, and here's Fran and Roman lighting up the friggin' air with footballs.
God, I wish I remembered that game. I probably watched it, and I just can't remember.
Fran threw a 76-yarder to Bill Brown. He threw another bomb to John Henderson.
Yeah, people forget about Henderson.
Yeah, Henderson. Here's some history. Here's a little bit of trivia for Viking fans. Henderson is the only Viking wide receiver to gain 100 yards receiving in a Super Bowl.
Yeah, there's a little bit of trivia there.
He gained 100. I want to say 111 yards on 7 catches in Super Bowl 4. So,
are we a fan of these whiteout jerseys?
Hell no! Why do you have that up there?
Oh, we're just talking about jerseys.
Oh, no, those are gloves. We're talking about really cool jerseys, not these ugly friggin' current jerseys.
Can I just say one thing about the jerseys? I did hear one thing. These what are they calling these NFL new jerseys this year? What are rival? What they call rivalry? What are they called this year? They're
rivalry.
The Viking ones are going to be purple, is the rumor. Not black. Some people said they're going to be black. They're supposed to going to be purple.
What the hell is the obsession with black unis?
I have no idea, and it pisses me off. Leave the Viking. Hey, that's 1970. That's a classic. I think that's a Buffalo game. That's Fran right there. That's my guy. That's.
Listen to Bill, guys. He's a kid in the candy store. He's loving it.
That Buffalo game in 75 with OJ and Chuck and the snowball, and the Vikings rolled them, and OJ back then, man. OJ, I mean, he was fantastic, man. 1975. I mean, it was the touchdown lead, right? TB and Chuck would have beat him if he wouldn't have got that snowball in the eye.
Yeah,
he would have beat him. The Vikings rolled that game.
Here's another thing. Everybody loved OJ Simpson. Am I the only person who thought OJ Simpson sucked?
Well, I think he was a lot like Chuck. They overused him in Buffalo, and then when he got to Frisco, he was about done.
He couldn't catch worth a damn, dude.
No, he wasn't. Yeah, Chuck was better, I think, all around. But OJ,
you know what he was? He was a track guy playing football.
OJ had that 2,000-yard season, and.
So here's what I want to pivot to for a second about Fran, as we're kind of reaching out.
You want to do the Raiders Super Bowl or no?
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah.
Not much to talk about there.
I don't know. It's about the same thing. I mean, it's
about the same thing. It's nothing.
Oh, well, I'll say this. We talked about it briefly, but I think that Super Bowl will always be remembered by McNeil blocking Ray Guy. And if people really watch that replay, look how it bounces. Bobby Bryant was ready to get that into his chest and go in for a touchdown. And it took a funny hop. And so down to the 2, 3, somewhere around there. And first and goal, they give it to Chuck 1 yard. And then on second and goal, it's he gets blasted, Brent McClanahan by Villapiano, right? And then Willie Hall recovers it, and that's the game. I mean, that's the momentum. But you know what's interesting? The Vikings had him 3rd and long after that fumble, and then Clarence Davis around left for a big first down. But no, that sequence there, I mean, bootleg with to Stu or bootleg Fran, just give it to Chuck and run behind Yeri, White and Voigt. Yeah. That's why, in our age bracket, I pound the table still. Why didn't they do this? What in the God's name are they doing?
They overthink it, and Bernsey was drunk.
Yep.
So, TB and Bill, what do you guys think about if Fran was in today's NFL? Do you think he'd just slay it, or do you think he would fit right in, or do you think he would kind of fall into the whole mobile QB, Kyler Murray type of discussion.
He'd fit
Yeah,
right in, and I think he'd
he'd
slay.
fit
I
in.
think he'd be great. I think he'd be great.
He'd fit in because the rules would favor him. I mean,
How good though?
they
How
favor
good?
him more. The rules would favor him more
Yes, they would. You're
than they
right.
did in '78 because they have relaxed the passing rules so much. He would have been friggin' Mahomes.
Yep.
Everything that Mahomes is doing, Fran would have did.
And you can't touch a quarterback on the side of the pocket. So, I mean, if he would stay in that pocket, look how it is today. Anything, it seems like it's going to get a flag.
Yeah, he's not. I mean,
Hey,
he's
that's
not
a really good question, Davey. What do you think about this, Tony?
no. Fran,
Yeah.
Fran would want to be traded. He would want to be traded.
Yeah, I don't think him and the giraffe would get along.
Him
too
and
well.
KLC would not get along. You know, and here's the thing about that. Van Brocklin comes in and coaches his team. He's coming off an NFL championship.
Yep.
So naturally he's going to think he is the guy. And he threw for 500 yards in a game in 1950s NFL.
Yep.
So naturally he's got the ego like I am the quarterback god. Look at what I've done. He's won
He's the
championships.
guru.
Right. Now, KLC is not that type of quarterback. He didn't even make it. So you saw what Fran's attitude was with Van Brocklin, who did make it. Now imagine Fran's attitude with KLC, who didn't do crap. Hey, Rap, who didn't do anything as a quarterback. So, you know, he would have thrived in today's NFL. The rules would have worked to his favor. He probably would have had a lot more rushing yards.
Yep.
And then, you know, the rules, the way they are, he'd been right up there. Any quarterback that played back in the day, from Marino to Faust to even Jurgensen to Staubach to Montana, if you put them in today's rules, those numbers are astronaut. Those numbers are like Canadian football numbers.
Yep.
Because that's all they do is throw in Canada. So
do you think is Kyler the closest thing we have ever had to Fran in a Vikings uniform at the quarterback position?
Because of size?
No, because he's dumb as a box of rocks.
Fair.
The only quarterback that's a little smarter than Kyler Murray was Dante Culpepper, and he was dumb as a box of rocks.
Interesting. Yeah, I think he would slay it too. I think he would definitely keep defenses honest. I think he can make it improvise, which is what a lot of NFL stuff really is. I mean, there's two trains of thought though. So I'm thinking, back then in his day, was it more off schedule or on schedule? Because I feel like today,
for him to do what he did back then, guess what? He wasn't. And Fran said this when he came into the league. Quarterbacks back then would just take the sack and go on to the next play. He said when he came into the league, he was never going to do that. He was going to extend the play. He was going to keep a play alive. And that's what he did. And with that offensive line, of course, you're going to have to run for your life because they were really bad. So, yeah, he decided, you know, and I give him credit. He wasn't going to lay down on a play. That's where Fran is kind of the maverick. He wasn't, and this is the cockiness and the competitiveness, he wasn't a quitter. If you were going to get him, you were going to have to work at it.
Yeah.
But if he had the chance to extend the play, he was going to do it. And he don't care if everybody passed out, got pissed, or whatever. He was going to make a play. Bottom line.
I think somebody
said earlier.
I think somebody said earlier that with Fran and Bobby Kramer, you were always in the game. You had a shot, at least.
You were more so with Tommy Kramer.
You think so?
Not 2-minute Tommy.
Tommy, put it this way, Tommy could throw 5 interceptions and 2 touchdowns. One of those 2 touchdowns would be a game winner.
I mean, Tommy had the better arm easily. Right?
Well, I mean, if we're being honest, we have to pay our respects because Fran is the only QB in a Vikings uniform to ever get us to the big game.
No, Joe Cap.
No, Joe Cap did.
But
got it there 3 times. Yeah, 3 times.
More consistently.
And They just should have won.
And Bill knows a lot about Joe Cap. I mean, Bill, you talk a lot about the leadership of Joe Cap. If you just put the leadership of Joe Cap in with the talent of Fran, then we have a
Well,
Super
then
Bowl
you
in
have
town.
Have a
probably
complete
one
quarterback.
best ever. Yeah.
Yeah, then you have a
Well,
complete.
then, yeah. I mean, Fran, they would have won. I mean, that would have went a long ways. Yes.
As much
100%.
here's what I rip on. Why I am such a Joe Cap guy is with that team. Joe Cap could turn that team literally. If you got into a street fight,
Yeah.
you would want Joe Cap with you. You would have Joe Cap's back no matter what. You didn't have that with Fran.
I mean, Joe was a vocal leader too. I mean,
Joe was a vocal leader. Joe was a very vocal leader. So, I mean,
I'm kind of curious though.
Can you do me a favor, Dan? Put up what Bob Sweet said about Bobby Douglas. One more. Up. Okay. Here's the thing with Bobby Douglas. Only thing Bobby Douglas could do was run. He sucked as a quarterback. He could not throw the ball. He was left-handed and sucked. He gained 960. He gained 970 some odd yards one year, but he sucked as a quarterback. He was terrible. And this is, you also got to remember, this is when the Bears, Gale Sayers was still there, but Gale was washed. So naturally, I mean, they didn't have no running game, but Bobby Douglas could not throw the ball for the life of him. He just couldn't. He's garbage. Let's be honest. He was garbage.
Okay. So do you think that the league is essentially going away from unscheduled? Like, do you see us going where these quarterbacks like Fran, like Kyler, like Russell Wilson, that is kind of basically being kind of phased out, or do you think there'll always be an element of that moving forward?
It's not being phased out, but the offensive thinking now, especially when you've got quarterbacks playing in a pistol. Remember, Fran played under center his whole career.
Yep.
He never played in the shotgun. The first quarterback I remember in the shotgun was Staubach.
Yep, Roger.
And that wasn't every play. But with today's NFL, and these players are made to extend plays with their feet. That's the problem. You got a lot of quarterbacks get extended with their feet. There's very few that can actually complete passes.
Okay.
There's offenses that are built like that. And so, yeah, the offensive thinking changes. You're never going to have the traditional sit back in the pocket quarterback, which is what,
because you do have to throw guys open in the league.
You do, but here's another thing too. This is what people don't understand about these wide receivers. Your wide receivers have to help out your quarterbacks too. And when I say that, when you see your quarterback in trouble, you've got to come back to him. A lot of these receivers will not do that. And then plus, like with KOC, his passing routes, who the frig needs a 10-yard friggin' passing route on every friggin' play? You don't.
Right.
Where are the screens? Where are the quick outs? Where are the quick ins?
Bill, let's do this. And Tony, I'm going to give you guys a list of quarterbacks. You're either going to say Fran or the quarterback I'm going to give you.
Okay.
Fran Tarkenton or Drew Brees?
Fran.
Doesn't care if
Fran Tarkenton or Brett Favre?
Fran.
That's just base because I hate that other fucker.
Fran
Tarkenton or Dan Marino?
Oh boy, they're my two favorites too. They're my two favorites. Fran and Dan
Marino. Oh.
I mean, both. I mean, Fran's my guy, but Marino is also my next generation.
You know what? I'm gonna go Marino on that one.
Bill?
Only because he's number one. I just got to go Fran, but it ain't by much. I mean, Marino's my second favorite quarterback. I love the guy. Love him.
Fran Tarkenton or Steve Young?
That's basically Steve Young's a left-handed Fran Tarkenton.
Exactly. That's where I'm going with this.
He's basically a left-handed Fran Tarkenton.
The big difference is going to be, to me, is the Super Bowls.
I got to watch Steve Young, so I have to say.
Yeah, no, I'm
sure if I watched Fran,
I'm going Tarkenton there. I'm going Tarkenton there.
I'm going Tark.
I mean, I'll say this: if it was Joe Montana or Fran, even though I love Fran to death, I would go Joe Montana.
Oh, I'd go Joe all day.
Fran Tarkenton or Matthew Stafford?
Oh, Fran, please.
Fran.
Ooh,
And I like Stafford.
he throws a good ball, man.
See, the problem is I can compare Fran, even though Fran only got 1 year with the Mel Blount and all that stuff. But I comparing him to even Joe, Steve, Marino, I can do. It's hard to compare him to today's quarterback because the rules are so much different.
Right.
So
That
much
is a
different.
lot different. Okay, I'll give you a final one. Fran Tarkenton or Ben Roethlisberger?
Fran.
Or here's another one: Fran or Fish Eyes. TB knows who Fish Eyes is. The Steelers quarterback.
Guys?
Huh? Rodgers.
Oh, Fran all day. Fran. It's not even a question. Fran. God.
Okay, here's another one then. Fran Tarkenton or Peyton Manning?
Fran Tarkenton.
Are you gonna do Fran in Elway?
Yeah, Elway's up there. He's next.
Okay, Elway's basically Fran.
Yeah.
I think I'm still taking pre-snap wise. I don't know. Peyton can just dissect you. He's a maniac,
You know what?
bro.
And I like Peyton. And it's, even if you said, and this is going to be people are pissed, like Fran versus Tom Brady again. If people obviously probably Brady, but again, I'm going to go back to the rule differences because, and TB, you're going to agree with this. I think as a defensive guy, there's no way in hell Brady would have played all those years under the rules of the 1970s. No chance in hell. None.
Here, I'm going to be honest with you.
Most guys would.
I'm just going to put it out there. Any football player in today's NFL would not have survived a year in the old NFL.
Thank you.
I'm just being honest. They wouldn't have survived a year.
Looked up Turkey Jones body slamming Terry Bradshaw. He body slammed him.
Yeah.
In today's game, he's suspended? How many games? If not the whole year by the dictator?
He gets fined and suspended. Well, no,
Fined
because
and suspended.
here's the thing. If you don't have the NFL now is predicated on star players. If those star players are hurt, you can't get people to watch the product, and they're not going to bet on the games.
Yeah.
They're not going to play fantasy football. They're not going to have DraftKings.
It always goes back, like Fran Tarkenton had 47,000 yards passing, and that record held until Dan Marino, finally broke it. That record held, and there were people that thought that record of Fran's was never going to be broken.
Yeah, that's the hit. That's a Turkey Jones hit.
Yep.
I think this knocked a few screws loose out of Terry Bradshaw.
You got a concussion.
No, honestly, Terry Bradshaw got hit a lot like that back in the day.
Yes, he did.
A lot of hits.
Larry Cole in the Super Bowl 10.
He was concussed in a lot of games, especially his first 2 years in the league. He got concussed a lot.
Yep.
But I mean, I'm sorry. What the NFL was in the 70s, 80s, even the early part of the 90s,
Yeah.
this current generation could not have dealt with it. Just in training camp, they couldn't have handled 2 a days. They couldn't have handled hitting every game, every practice. You couldn't have handled it.
Did they call pass interference, or was that? It seemed like pass interference was called a lot less back then as well, from all the clips and stuff.
Yeah, there wasn't a call. I mean, you could mug these receivers back in the day until
that's why the Mel Blount rule
push-offs and stuff.
Well, yeah, you could literally, and this is what the Mel Blount rule did. You could use literally before that ride a receiver down the sideline and still be touching them.
Yep.
And the only time they'd really throw the flag is if you kind of hindered him from getting the ball. But with the Mel Blount rule, because Mel did that a lot, you could only hit him within the first 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. After that, you had to let him go. And so that meant the slants were open. A lot of defensive backs kept the receivers in front of them instead of jamming and playing man-to-man. What the Raiders were good at, Lester Hayes and Mike Haynes were good at man-to-man. they would just jam you, and they would get away with riding you somehow. I don't know how, but what happened was the NFL relaxed that rule too. And then when the NFL relaxed the rule of hitting receivers over the middle, that changed it all. So, yeah.
All right, brass tacks time. Here we go. Tony, Bill, in the chat. Do you think we'll ever get a QB as good as Fran in a Vikings UB in a uniform?
Well, I'll say this: the only way that's ever going to happen, I think it's going to have to start from fresh out of college. You develop them and let them roll. And right now, I don't care what they say, they're not letting that happen. The head coach has been a hypocrite on this issue after what he said, a couple of years ago, TB. Who fails the young quarterbacks more than the... Yep, and what's he doing? Because he knows his quote-unquote job could be on the line. It's the only reason they brought Murray in.
He's failing a young quarterback.
So until then, no. They have to be patient. You know, can I just say one more thing? Yep. And it's his fault, but you know who I also blame is this fan base. Because they want instant success. They don't want to take the time to have a kid develop. Sometimes it takes time. Marino is an exception. There are exceptions to every rule, but you got to let the kid develop. McCarthy was hurt his rookie year, for crying out loud. Had 10 starts last year, and right away throw him to the dogs. We're done with him.
You know what the problem is with the fan base? And I'm going to tell you what the problem is with our fan base. The problem is we had to look at the team from the West have 30 years of success with.
That's right. 100%. Yes.
And so we're so blinded by that we're like, got to get a quarterback, got to get a quarterback.
Yep.
And it's like you're building the team the wrong way. And also, we got a bigger problem too, folks. And I've had a problem with the Wilfs ever since they bought the team. They're not football people.
No, they're not.
Football people. Okay? And then the whole fiasco, you get rid of Zimmer, you get rid of Spielman, who actually knew football a little bit.
Yeah, at least he did. I give stuff like that.
You know, but then you go and bring in a guy who don't know shit about football, and you're leaving decisions to him, and then you bring in another guy who don't know shit about football, and you're leaving a lot of decisions to him. I mean, come on. That's like I said before, and I have to say it again. The biggest screw up and enemy to the Minnesota Vikings is the Minnesota Vikings. They
100.
A lot of this drama themselves.
100% correct.
So, I mean, Dan, could you put up what Luff said? Okay, you know what? Call me old. Call me outdated. No, they couldn't, Luff, and you know it. They couldn't. You may have a handful of players that would rise up and be able to step up, but I don't know. You put, say, Myles Garrett against Anthony Munoz. You put Myles Garrett against, who else is a tackle that I'm forgetting? Ernie McMillan with the Cardinals.
No.
Big Bob Brown of the Raiders.
No.
You put
Art Shell.
You put a lot of these younger players, and with the attitude that those older players had back then, they start beating on you as soon as the whistle goes off.
That was their main job back then, people. That was their job.
Up you. These players there's a lot of players that are soft nowadays
100. That
they might be okay for one quarter, but then if they expect it to light up, they're not lighting up. They're going to beat on you some more.
Yep.
So I'm just saying they could have, but I don't see too many of them that could.
I agree.
It is interesting. I mean, what I find myself asking a lot of the time about this QB conversation is when Kevin O'Connell first came here, and they extended Kirk right away, right out of the gate. They extended Kirk, I think, right away out of the gate as soon as KOC got here, if my memory is correct. I mean, there's an element of timing with this that where, like, you know, if you're a brand new first-time head coach, right? You know, I get there's a conversation of wanting to win now versus wanting to build something. But it seems like the Vikings can't get out of their own way, Tony, because it's always either we have to pay somebody at the wrong time, or we're not patient enough to develop somebody who got hurt his first year,
Yep.
or we give somebody too long of a leash of 4 years, like Christian Ponder or something. So, I mean, we have a new GM now, right? I'm hoping that
Yeah.
this GM basically looks at this team and says, okay,
Enough is
like,
enough.
yeah, because I mean, I get it. Like a lot of teams say you can't just like let Sam Darnold walk out the door, right? And I'll be guilty of it because I was definitely on the JJ McCarthy bandwagon, and I
Okay,
still am, because I haven't seen enough. But my question is why are Vikings fans so afraid of being bad to
Okay,
be
so I'm gonna
great?
answer your question.
no patience.
There's a lot of answers to it too. First of all, the whole Sam Darnold thing. If Sam Darnold doesn't win a Super Bowl, we ain't having this conversation. Sam caught lightning in a bottle, won a Super Bowl. That's
And he
why
wasn't winning it here. He was not going to win it here.
Yeah, he was not going to win it here. Second of all, like I said before, this
hold
team.
on, one sec. I got a question. He was not going to win it here under KOC's play calling.
He wasn't going to win it here.
We had the defense to get it done. I think
I'm not so sure.
To get.
No, I don't think so. I disagree.
Nobody wanted to play our defense.
I disagree with that because the defense, though very good, got manhandled right off the bat in that Ram playoff game, and they were behind the 8 ball right away. But it was more on the offense.
Detroit put up 34 points in that game against us, that final game where he had to win the division. They put up 34 friggin' points.
That defense is good, but they weren't Seattle good that won that Super Bowl.
And here's the thing with the Viking defense. They're predicated on big plays, but if you're physical with them, like Pittsburgh was when we played them overseas last year,
punch them in the mouth.
They're flawed.
Punch them in the. I mean, you got to punch back.
I'm hoping Banks and Big Citrus can change a little.
You got to punch back. I mean. We just got to be going back to less of a finesse team. I'm hoping Jawan Jennings brings that energy. I'm hoping Jacoby Thomas brings that energy, and the rookies on defense will become more physical. You still
got one problem. You still got the same guy calling the plays on offense.
Yep. He don't run the ball.
And you brought in a coach now who wants to run the ball.
Yeah, I don't know how that. I don't know how
they're going to butt heads. They are butting heads.
Well, we should be in for a wild ride. We only got 6 weeks, boys. We only got 6 weeks.
Well, you know what? I'm not going to freak out about it. I'm just going to sit here and be like, yeah, whatever.
I hope is the new GM can set those owners straight, and they got to let Teasley do his job. And if the head coach, if they flop this year, the Wills have to have enough balls to fire his ass. And
okay, hold on, Bill. Hold on, Bill. It's not Wilfs anymore. It's one Wilf.
Well, I know. I always say the Wilfy boys or the Wilfs. I know.
No, it's one Wilf.
Mark better let Teasley do his job.
Mark don't know shit about football.
Well, I know, but that's why he better let Teasley do his job.
That's why he had Grigson in the building, because Grigson was kind of telling him the football stuff. He used to rely on Spielman for it, and then he brought Grigson in for the football stuff, and he also, because the other guy doesn't know football either. He's from baseball.
Oh, Andrew Miller?
But what I'm saying is it's unfortunate because we're at this weird crossroads in this organization where we have timing where a coach is probably maybe on the hot seat. Everyone says, oh, Kyler, you got him for a steal. Why wouldn't you bring him in? Okay, competition does breed the best out of some people. I agree. But I mean, ultimately, it's just a temporary fix, right, Bill? Okay. I mean, I just want the Vikings to stop putting Band-Aids on things, and
here's the first thing. First things first. If you really think there's a QB competition, you are the biggest.
No, there's no QB competition. No,
there is no QB competition. And second of all, this team has been looking for a quarterback since probably. Oh God. We even had the quarterback controversy with Tommy Kramer and Wade Wilson. It was one with him and Steve Dills.
Yes, there was. Yep. So Fran Tarkenton.
We've had a quarterback controversy since the last time we did was Fran Tarkenton.
Okay, so if I'm a GM, and I come to the Vikings, right? Or maybe you draft QBs and they are bust and that costs you your job. Why don't you just keep drafting until you get one that basically fits your scheme? And fits what you want to do, because obviously JJ McCarthy is not going to fit what Kevin O'Connell wants to do, right? We agree on that?
Here's
As
the
of
problem.
now, probably.
Here's the problem. Is there a quarterback that will? Are you going to wait around for another 3-4 years for Kevin O'Connell to find his system quarterback?
Oh, that's too long. That's too.
I
long,
don't think
yeah.
he's coaching this team in 3 to 4 years, but I hear you. Yes.
I'm not. I mean, put it this way: you were brought up here to do one thing and one thing mainly, and that was to find this team's franchise quarterback. And here's the thing: if you are, and this is where I get on everybody, you get on JJ McCarthy because he can't do this and he can't do that. Okay, guess what? With a quarterback like that, you're going to have to put time and coaching into him to make him an NFL quarterback, or at least make him a playable NFL quarterback. He doesn't have to throw for 10,000 yards, but at least he can manage your offense. Where does that come in? That comes into coaching, which obviously Kevin O'Connell sucks at it because he's got to get a veteran. You know why he's got to get a veteran? Because he just wants somebody who can read his playbook, decipher it, and make the plays. That's what veterans do. Now, here's his problem. This is where he screwed up. When you got somebody who's dumb as a box of rocks as Kyler Murray and doesn't read the playbook, you're going to look like a fool.
And he doesn't want competition, Murray. He wants no competition.
No, Kirk didn't want competition either.
No, he's another has-been.
Kirk's another, but at least Kirk could play quarterback.
Yeah, that's the difference. Yeah.
At least Kirk could play. I mean, I hate Kirk Cousins, but I know what you're saying. At least he could play quarterback. He didn't like competition because that's just the way he is. But once again, when we needed Kirk to step up, he didn't.
So we find a way to clone Fran's DNA. In 30 years, in 20 years, he gets drafted. We'll all be 6 feet underground. The Vikings might get a Super Bowl.
It's the 48th. It's 48th. 48th anniversary since, in a sense, he retired. It's gonna be the 50th anniversary since the last time they went to the Super Bowl is this year. 76-77 season.
It was the bicentennial year.
Hey, it's the kind of a centennial. Is that a little bit of a thing? A little centennial year?
It was the bicentennial. I mean, after the Super Bowl, I went to my first rock concert. I went to saw Kiss. So, I mean, it's like, my God. I was 10. We were 10, Bill.
Yeah,
we were 10.
Yeah.
Okay, but like we're not the only people smart enough to realize if you have JJ McCarthy, like if Ryan Tannehill can get to a championship game with Derrick Henry, like if there were the Vikings, you should be running like 80% of the time. You should be running almost as much as they did at Michigan. And
but you know what?
Drafting a running back.
They recognized they had Derrick Henry and they ran Derrick Henry. The problem with KLC is, and I don't know any coach like this, he does not like to run the ball. I don't know any offensive coach who does not like to run the ball. Only time a person doesn't like to run the ball is if they're playing Madden. I'm just being honest. Nobody runs when you play Madden.
A lot of the NFL is really ugly, and it's a game of a couple things that can go right, and
it's ugly because you now have gambling involved. You now have everybody wants the big plays. When you've got fantasy football involved and you got gambling involved, that changes everything with the gameplay. Everything. It's all about points now. They want the NBA in the NFL. They want arena league scores in the NFL. They want 60, 70, 80 point games. That's what the NFL wants.
Yep.
That's why your defensive players out there.
I mean, if you're JJ McCarthy and you're Viking, I mean, he would gladly probably meet with McCarthy, wouldn't he?
Fran?
Yeah.
Yeah, he would. Oh yeah, Fran. Oh yeah, Fran likes JJ. I do know that Fran likes JJ. Yeah, I mean, one thing JJ is a big time leader.
Only one that doesn't like JJ is KLC.
Yep.
And that's pretty sad. That's why I said
I have no respect for the head coach. None, zero.
That's why I said the JJ Kevin O'Connell aspect has a lot of Norm and Fran in it.
Yeah.
It has a lot of that. A lot of that. It could get to the point where, JJ's going to be like, I'm out of here. Just trade me.
Be a sad day.
And it could be like that. But you know what? Here's the thing, though. Everybody all these Viking fans have put KLC on this pedestal. Stop it, people. Stop it. He doesn't belong on a pedestal. He's worse than a politician when he gives his speeches. I mean, my God, if you sit there, I mean, anybody that listens to his speeches, you need a medal. You do. You need a medal just to listen to that idiot talk, because it's nothing but a bunch of double talk.
Yeah, I agree.
And here's the thing: him and Brian Flores got to do what they wanted in the offseason because nobody was watching them, because our owners are not in town. Now you've got an owner who's
Absentee
here.
owners.
You got a GM who's here every day. So he's got to decipher everything. He's got to see what the hell is going on with this team. I mean, if it doesn't work out this year, they could blow it up. It really does.
My advice, man, is just move the chains. If you're this season, if you're Vikings, just focus on moving the chains.
That's right. It'll help the defense out too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just move the chains.
Say what you want about Fran. He was smart enough, and they were smart enough when they put that game plan together on offense to move the chains, no matter what it took. They could put together a 10-play, 80-yard drive, and it would end in a touchdown. They played time-consuming ball. They worked in the play action. They worked in the run, especially. The run is getting Chuck Foreman opened up for a lot of the other running backs.
Yep.
But you still had to dump off passes to Chuck. You had to dump off passes to Stu. If you wanted to throw a 20-yarder, you had John Gilliam or Sammy White or Ahmad Rashad to catch the ball.
This would be the worst nightmare, Davey. This would be the absolute worst nightmare.
Yeah,
I don't think I could root for this team anymore if that happened.
Here's a stat I heard today. Or was it yesterday? One of the two. Viking quarterbacks since our head coach became head coach have been hit more than 500 times.
I believe it, because our offensive line has been
terrible. And it's his long developing plays as a part of it. Another part, obviously bad offensive line. And with Murray, as I listened to some guys say, you better have good interior offensive linemen because of his size. They said these guys say you have to have great interior. You could get by with possibly average to a little bit above average tackles, but you got to have the great interior.
And I'm telling you right now,
I'm not so sure on
the Vikings already have a problem at center.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm hearing Brandel is having his issues at center. But hey, this is what KOC wants. I'm sorry, I called it from the start.
Yeah, you did. He did. I came on board in 23. TB was on it in 22. I came late. I was a year late, but at least I came up. He called it right away.
I never liked the guy. I
drank the Kool-Aid first. Then I got off of it.
Yeah.
Who's our center before Bradbury?
Elfline and
the big elf, as I called him.
Yeah.
Elfline.
What's
Easton played a little center too. Nick Easton.
Yeah,
Easton.
That guy's
we really haven't had steady center play.
Best center we probably have is Matt Burke, right?
McTinglehoff.
Tingelhoff. I would say Tingelhoff, Burke, and I actually was. There's other guys. I like Kirk Loudermilk down Swilly, and I like Jeff Christie too.
Here's a funny part: Christie and Burke were guards.
Yeah.
That Danny Green moved to center.
Yep.
So, and they both became Pro Bowlers.
So was Swilly.
Swilly was a guard. was a guard.
I like Dennis Swilly. Kirk Loudermilk I always liked. Underrated.
Well, in the words of Mr. John Madden, here's what he would say to KOC.
That was one of the ideas, but it wasn't a very good one, was it?
Yeah, and he's had a lot of them over the years.
Well, we are at almost an hour and a half, guys. We do want to say thank you for coming into the stream, talking some Fran Tarkenton, talking some stats. Probably best quarterback to ever put on a Vikings jersey. We appreciate you guys coming out. Tony and Bill, I'm going to let you guys have the final word for the show today.
You go first, TB. Huh? Well, this franchise, obviously this is the 50th year since their last trip to the Super Bowl, have not won the Super Bowl, and will not get back to the Super Bowl until there's a lot of things, but they need to fix that quarterback. situation, and they need a franchise young quarterback. They need to be patient, and all the fans out there, be patient. I'll just say one last thing. The fans today would never, well, actually, they would have been spoiled in the 70s. But let's just say go back to the 60s when the Vikings were bad. These people would have been out of their minds.
Oh, God, yes. Yes.
Tony?
It's just a whole patient game. It's just a waiting game, people. We're still waiting for this team to get it right. We're still waiting for this team to get it right and be able to
Twins got it right.
And then hoist that Lombardi trophy in our lifetime. We got.
Go ahead, TV.
We got more years behind us and ahead of us.
Damn right.
And then and I'm going to be critical of this team until they at least make an effort to prove that they're trying to get to the Super Bowl instead of just trying to make the playoffs. Prove to me you want to win the Super Bowl. I don't want to hear, let's just make the playoffs and see what happens.
That's right. That's right.
I want to hear Super Bowl. And
who cares if you beat Green Bay and you don't make play and they get all wound up if you don't make play? At least we beat Green Bay. F that. You had a terrible year.
Yeah.
For example, if they're like a 6-7 win team, well, at least we knocked those either Packers out of the playoffs or we beat them twice. Well, who the bleep cares? And let me just say this: the Twins won. Let me just say this: the Twins won 2 World Series. I never thought in my lifetime I'd ever seen it twice on TV.
Yeah.
Let the Vikings finally. I mean, I'll say it one more time. The state went crazy in '87. Crazy again in '91, but I think more crazy in '87 because of the unexpected. This state would be twice that if the Vikings ever won the Super Bowl.
Okay, Bob Swede, our QB room is solid because we got 3 first-round picks at quarterback. Okay, if you've got 3 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks.
That's right. Thank you.
If you've got 3, you have none.
We got Prince, Harry, Midget Murray, and McCarthy.
Here's what I'm going to say for my final thoughts about this QB position. It is hard. I don't want to say that it is easy to find a quarterback, but there are so many variables, right? There's so many number 1 picks that end up being busts. And there's a lot of variables, whether they went to the right circumstance on different teams, the right coach. Maybe they just didn't have the talent to translate into the NFL. Yep. But what I am saying is the Vikings are the only team, I think, that just can't accept being bad for a few years to get a team together that is going to be great.
It's all about ticket sales.
It's because of the ticket sales.
It's all about ticket sales, period. This team, you know why this team will not do a complete rebuild? Because it means you're going to have to lose some fans in the stands.
Yep, that's right. 100%.
That's why. They will never. This team, when Mark Wilf came out with the whole competitive rebuild shit, that was to sell tickets. Nobody wants to see. Nobody wants to see a team in rebuild, and pay. You keep jacking up the prices each year, and your team is in rebuild. Come on, I'm not paying. No. So what happens is, it's kind of happening now. You've got out-of-state fans, kind of outnumbering your stadium. I mean, the Packers. When the Packers come here, it's going to be 50-50.
Yep.
So I mean, that's the whole thing. You're going to have to blow it up eventually. Bottom line. Well, blow it up, top to bottom. You started with Teasley. Teasley's got a scouting staff now. That's going to help. But now you've still got to get the stench of, I hate to say it, KOC, that whole hiring process that went through with KOC. You got to get that stench off of you because it's still there. Yep. It's still there.
You heard it here, folks. Blow it up. Blow it up. Hopefully this season goes, it's going to be some fireworks. We'll be here rocking with you with the history, with some predictions. But we appreciate you guys all coming. Tune in next week, Thursday. If you guys haven't, make sure you hit that like and subscribe. We appreciate you guys, all from Vikings Vintage. Catch you guys next week.
Skol.
Skol.